G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Now I said I wasn't going to turn you into a stoic. That doesn't mean I'm going to not teach you tools about stoicism. I myself am not a stoic. I just study various philosophies, and stoicism has some very red pill things to say, and some very mgtow things to say. Now, from a stoic perspective, being mgtow is a very stoic thing to do. Now, that doesn't mean stoics didn't get married. It's just, well, when things don't go your way, you absolutely, go, what does the Bible say? Yes, what does the Bible say about a bad wife? That's an interesting perspective because, see, the idea of marriage and staying married is a modern thing. Now, by modern, I mean post-Roman Empire, but still. The Bible addresses negative marital dynamics and character flaws. It warns against quarrelsome attitudes, unfaithfulness, and disrespect. And when it comes to the bad wife, well, you have Proverbs describing it better to live on the corner of a roof or in the desert than share your house with a quarrelsome wife. Consistent character. The disgraceful wife is like decay in the bones. Basically, the Bible warns you against deceitful, seductive women, describing a bad wife as the one who makes a husband gloomy. There are actual, warnings about being led astray by women, deception, manipulation. This wasn't just about theological warnings that a bad marriage, it was, what do you do? That's the point. Okay, so you have a bad marriage. What women to avoid? But what happens, right? Well, pretty much, you were supposed to only divorce a spouse for immorality. Yeah. Now, the Bible does describe marriage as a lifelong covenant, but except for two specific reasons. That is, yeah. Now, the thing is, I'm of the belief that if a wife was cancer of the bone, she's not a believer, right? She's abandoned faith and is not a true believer. Yet, separation and legal divorce, there was separation, abandonment, supposed to be have God's heart. But if a woman does not have God's heart, then you should be able to legally. But, divorce on demand is not supposed to be, is different. That's basically, she's getting divorced because you're inconvenient or no longer, sexy or whatever. Yeah, the whole point was to make you stick it out, make better choices, not get married, then decide to get divorced. But from a Stoic point of view, right, you've got to look things at more broader logic and say, no, bro, if she's a bad wife, she's not biblical. There's plenty of biblical narratives to say, right? If she's deceitful, if she's highly seductive and suggestive, if she's highly manipulative, if she's, obnoxious and disrespectful, nagging, she's unfaithful. Unfaithful means to not have faith. Does not mean cheating. Adultery meant cheating. See, people have manipulated words so much, and that's why I go back to Stoicism and the Greek philosophers, because there is not a perversion of the ancient texts. There are in modern writings, but not in the grand sense of actually changing entire words to make sure that you change an entire religion. All right, before I continue, Empire Vowels, that's one word, empirevowels.myshopify.com. Support the channel today with a purchase from my Shopify store. Whoops. All right. So, stoic and divorce is natural, normal thing to do. A stoic is not going to put up with an unfaithful wife. That is, one who does not abide by the faith. Being single is a very stoic thing to do. It is not a state of deprivation, rather than an opportunity for self-growth. Stoics invented MGTOW, by the way. So, it's MGTOW is somewhat based on the Stoic philosophy, even if you didn't intentionally do it. The philosophy teaches you to seek peace of mind, and that peace of mind should come within, not external validation. Or romanticism. Remember, romanticism, we had the Romantic Age, but there's been romanticism all along for a long time. The Romans invented it, okay? That's why it's called romanticism. Roman. See, gynocentric, it should be called gynocentrism. Stoicism or gynocentric? Which path, mgtow? It's obvious, isn't it? Now, key principles of Stoicism doesn't mean you have to become a Stoic, but control what you can. That is, whether or not you realize it, you have you can't control the people you meet, you can't control the weather, you can't control politicians. And definitely, the only things you can really control is your virtue, your reaction to others, and how well educated you are. Teachers don't educate. If you haven't figured that out, why do they make you read the textbook and go away? Self-discipline. Self-education. Avoid codependency. Now, Stoics believe that clinging to others is avoidance. Now, this is not basically totally understood by many. Stoics, they're talking about clinging, okay? Not cooperation to build a house or cooperation to build a cathedral or a road or civilization or a farm work or anything like that. Heck, even a Stoic marriage, right? It's not codependency. Codependency is when you're clinging to someone because you're afraid to be alone and you remember Stoicism's for men, okay? Right? It's not a philosophy for women. It's a philosophy for men by men, right? So if a man cannot be alone with his own thoughts, be his own decision maker, and if he has to turn to another for survival rather than genuine affection, that's a poisoning of the soul, a weakening of the mind. Now, this is somewhat a difficult one because as we get older, we do become requiring help and health care. That's why it says, but again, Stoicism is not a religion, it's a philosophy, and it's not an absolutist. It says to avoid it. And actually, I do believe there's a few who say young men should avoid codependency. And go forth into the world, and that codependency is basically a sign that you've retired, okay, that you've given up. Well, you've earned it if you've genuinely retired. But again, Stoicism was not anti-family, as it's often portrayed, it's about realizing no matter what situation you are in, you, king, are your master. Okay, it's about mastering yourself. So when you find yourself in solitude, embrace the solitude. Solitude is an invaluable tool for self-reflection, examining your actions, developing a deep, meaningful relationship with yourself. Ultimately, Stoicism does not forbid relationships. That you must learn to be content with yourself, not rely on others, and that before you can love another, you have to love thyself properly. That is, you have to be able to take care of yourself, be alone with yourself, be your own master, and know what you're getting into. Now, again, Stoicism is about confronting and conquering the fear of being alone and using solitude to build emotional independence. Why? Because Stoics realized long ago that the emotional and the emotionally dependent don't lift others up, they tear others down. No, Daddy, don't go to work, stay home and play. That is the attitude of an emotionally crippled child. That is why many don't understand Stoicism, because most of us are still carrying emotional baggage. Stoicism is about the idea, and I think I've told you this before. You have an emotion. You acknowledge this emotion. You decide whether or not the emotion needs to be acted upon. Then you dismiss the emotion. Now, that I didn't learn from Stoicism. I learned that from Zen, from Japanese philosophy. And it does, and you have in samurai, in ninja, in Zen Buddhism, heck, even in the everyday Japanese culture, you have a lot of Stoicism in there. See, a Stoic doesn't say, this is my philosophy. It is, oh, I'm recognizing success and how success is achieved. Because if you look at Stoics or Stoic people, samurai, whatever, samurai is still part of a hierarchy. They work and cooperate with others of like philosophy. They enjoy the company of like philosophy. But they realise that their like philosophy isn't, say, the like philosophy of a farmer or a shopkeep or a noble. Although they can be and become noble or already be a noble, it is not a samurai's place, however, to be, so I say, what do they call it in a peer of uh, another class, a peer of another class. I'm trying to think what it's called. It is when you step out, right? Yeah, a stoic will step out of their comfort zone, but they don't say, "Oh, today I'm going to hang out with the farmers. Today I'm going to hang out with the next day. I'm going to hang out with the fruit pickers." No, Stoics seek, like, just like samurai and other groups, but a Stoic doesn't say, "I'm going to be single because I'm a Stoic." Now there are those who do see it that way, and Stoicism doesn't have absolutes. But the major philosophy of Stoicism is, I'd rather be single than lose my peace, or lose my mind, or lose myself. And that is probably the most mgtow thing about Stoicism. It's walking away. See, Stoicism is about walking away from bad marriage, bad relationships, bad jobs, bad people. And you don't hang out with people who are not of your like-mindedness or your but it's not an absolute. Just because someone doesn't like wrestling doesn't mean there are, you gotta be 100, you gotta be 10 point out of 10 point friends and gatekeeping everything. No. You recognize whether or not someone is who they claim to be. Now, there are those who want to bring women into Stoicism, and beware if you do start seeking out Stoic channels, the difference between a classical Stoic and a modernist. A modernist uses Stoicism to say, hey, let's all be friends with women. Let's all bring women into the movement. Let's all kumbaya. The underlying philosophy of Stoicism applies to women too, right? But how can it, when the quietness of the mind is a man's trait? When leading others, well, women are the others, are they not? Women and children, are not they the others that we are supposed to lead? So they don't want to be led, so you do the most Stoic thing there is. You protect your peace, your mind, and yourself. Now again, before I go, Stoicism doesn't forbid relationships, so there is that difference in mgtow. Although, again, I don't see every mgtow every day, so I have come across people, and yeah, I've also been told there are a lot of grifters. Yeah, it's the same with politics, right? Actually, are these grifters not downstream from politics? Are they not just cultural, what's it called? Appropriating to be a chameleon, to try and fit in, not because they believe in a group or organization, but because they believe that there's a financial opportunity. It's the same with Stoicism. There are the Christians, the Muslims, particularly Muslims who'll tell you, oh, if it wasn't for us Muslims, you wouldn't know who Aristotle was. Yeah, actually, Aristotle was Greek, not, yeah. He never went away. Aristotle, Plato, those books never went away. They were quietly rediscovered during the Renaissance, yes, but they weren't brought back from the Middle East by no, because all the Muslim books from the Middle East were Islamification of Greek inventions, Greek philosophy, or Roman texts and Roman philosophy. So take it with a grain of salt. If you want to trust me or not, that's up to you. But I'm telling you right now, the Renaissance is poorly written about. There are very few historians who give us true history. I think one of them is Heinrich van Loom, and you can see why his history books are not taught in schools. Now, some Stoics talk about staying single until you master yourself. Others are just purely stay single. They talk about the transitionary life, going from son to father to master. They're not talking about Stoicism as in abandoning the wife or abandoning marriage, but more recognition is, particularly in the modern world, she doesn't love you. It's just your turn. Again, that might be offensive because people find it, a broad generalization of women. But I am not telling you something that's just pulled from the sky or out of my rear posterior. I'm just reporting what I have heard in recent times, going through Stoicism and Stoic things, and that there are many different approaches to Stoicism. Again, I'm not telling you to become a Stoic, nor am I. I am telling you that there are some tools to embrace. And that Stoic and single, again, to take the Stoic advice that you do not put yourself into a state of deprivation. You take the opportunity to grow, to examine yourself, to find peace of mind, and to maintain that peace of mind. To learn to control what you can, to not be codependent on another for your for validation, and to embrace your solitude as a tool for self-reflection, examining your actions, develop a deep and meaningful relationship with yourself and those around you. Ultimately, Stoicism does not forbid relationships. Now, friendship is a relationship. Being a supporter of a channel is a relationship. Being in someone's Discord is a relationship. There are many kinds of relationships. The problem is so many people have, as soon as they instantly hear the relationship, think of Congress with a woman. Again, Stoics never forbid that either. But Stoicism only has a few dictates, and that is, Stoicism is about self-reliance, self-survival, and self-respect. I'm not going to say self-love. That gets misunderstood, but it is misunderstood. A lot of people, and again, I'm just trying to clear up misconceptions, because a lot of people with Stoic and wisdom quotes would rather go for the modern lowest common denominator interpretation rather than say, hey, there are words behind these quotes. And there is, in fact, deep words behind many quotes. And only if you want to become a true Stoic do I think you should go out and buy Aristotle or any of those deep, meaningful. And again, you could just get by on a few tools to help give yourself that everyday clarity. You're only taking 5 minutes out of your day to reflect on to plan your day ahead, and at the end of the day, reflect on your day. And moving forward, I don't think I would need to make lots of these videos. In fact, probably unless a ride or question and needs, I think I've given you enough tools out of these two, this and previous video, to go, yeah, I can now plan my day, look back on my day, and reflect on myself and my actions in solitude. Appreciate all that I've achieved, and realize that the only benchmark or the only competitor I need is staring back at me in the mirror. That we should not be wishing ourselves, no matter how great or successful Elon Musk is, to be Elon Musk. None of us put in the hard work to get there in the first place. So there should be no envy. There should be no, oh, I could do that. Jealousy, avarice, that, oh, I want to tear him down, wrath, No. Stoics, go for the virtues. The virtues existed long before and will exist long after any philosophy gets, it's one of those hard things to really, for the nihilist, Satanist, atheist, to sink their teeth into and corrupt, as they've corrupted the language and corrupted the everything else. Obviously they come for Stoicism to corrupt it with feminization of like they do with everything else, right? But if I was to do another video, I'd probably do it on the yin and yang. Is that itself is an interesting approach as well. I do not advocate for Stoicism. Again, I only advocate for a few tools to help you to manage yourself. Before I go, Empire Valves, that's one word, empirevalves.myshopify.com, your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. You support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links in the link tree, description below. Scan the QR code on the screen. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.